Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It is about 10:30 Eastern Time on August 20th, 2014, and we're going to take a look, get rid of that, and we're going to take a look at what happened today. Well, if there was any doubt yesterday about this inverted head and shoulders pattern, which is in this little oval here, if there was any doubt about that pattern meeting its target, that has been totally removed today. Sort of an interesting day. We climbed, stayed actually we opened, wait a minute, get rid of that. We opened a little bit underneath this top trend line. And remember, we talked about how a rising resistance line, once it is broken, doesn't usually pan out with the same kind of support that you typically see out of a descending broken resistance line. Okay, so we opened underneath it, but by golly, the S&P said, no, I want to get back over this line. Had a little hiccup late in the day of roughly 4 or 5 points, nothing really, 1/3%, not even that much. And then we got back over that line again. So today's high was about 1988.5. When we look back on our chart, we see that the all-time high was 1990 and change. And it looks like this market is wanting to challenge that high. Now, I mentioned yesterday the possibility, not the likelihood or anything like that, but just the possibility that we could be seeing an even larger continuation pattern that we wouldn't really know if we're there quite yet, because this pattern would be only about 2/3 formed. And what I'm talking about is yet another inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now, this was our old target line. I'm going to scoot that up. So it's going to now have a slightly different function. This is going to mark the all-time high in the S&P, so that we'll have a measuring stick, if you will, up here to keep an eye on to see if we hit resistance at that level, and if we do, how much we might sell off. It would be great, frankly, if this ended up being an inverted head and shoulders. If you're a bull, let me tell you why that would be great. Because if this is our neckline, let me just borrow this line. We measure the depth of the head, which, by the way, the head of this pattern itself, if this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, the head would itself be a smaller pattern. If we were to break out over that, and it works as an inverted head and shoulders, we're looking at a target of about 2080. Very preliminary, to be sure. As a matter of fact, it's so preliminary, I'm not going to put that on the chart. That's gone. What I'm looking for is, I will be very interested to see what transpires over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay? Is it possible that we just blow on up through this line? Absolutely. I don't really see much of a chart, if you will, chart reason to do that, other than the fact that if you back out on this chart a little bit, you see that we have been staying between these two red lines for quite a while now. Now 2080, if we were to get there, would mean that either we would get there in a fairly slow path, where that would not be reached until, let's say the 1st of November, because if this resistance line keeps working, then we would not be able to, we shouldn't break over that line, and that line only gives us room for 280 at the very end of October or the beginning of November. So, again, that's highly speculative, but I don't mind doing that from time to time. It paid off the last time when we were forming our little inverted head and shoulders pattern right here. I mentioned that a full 2 days before that breakout took place, and really before we had much in the way of a right shoulder. But that's a nicely formed little pattern. So guys, I think I'm just gonna keep it that simple. We're coming up on the all-time high line right here. Let's see if the S&P meets resistance there. Frankly, I think it would be a good thing if it did. Okay? You might think, Jim, well, I thought you were a bull. Yes, I'm a bull. But I would rather be bullish with a pattern that projects to us a high probability target than just to say, let's blow on up and let's just let this thing shoot to the moon. No, I don't want that. I would much rather we hit resistance, back up a little bit, take a little time, come back and try this line again, then take it out. Because if that's the case, then we would have a pattern that we could look at. And I think for a technical trader, that would kind of put some wind in our sails. So guys, there's your video for August 20th, 2014. Another one of these patterns behaved perfectly. So, glad you were here to experience this with me, and stick around. This is gonna keep getting interesting. So, hey, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for your support.